the bleachers in the rain. We've shed a million tears and drank as many old-style beers out at the game. Let's go, Cubby, Son Ranto.
Michael Cotton.
Son Ranto.
Michael Cotton.
Son Ranto and the lovable Lucy.
Lucho Scali.
Son Ranto.
Michael.
Son Ranto.
Cotton.
Son Ranto and the lovable Lucy.
Michael Cotton.
Son Ranto.
Lucho Scali.
Hello and welcome to the Son Ranto Show, and happy Groundhog's Day, everybody.
Son Ranto.
Lucho Scali. Son Ranto.
Hello and welcome to the Son Ranto Show, and happy Groundhog's Day, everybody.
Son Ranto.
Lucho Scali. Son Ranto.
Hello and welcome to the Son Ranto Show, and happy Groundhog's Day, everybody.
Son Ranto.
Lucho Scali. Son Ranto.
Hello and welcome to the Son Ranto Show, and happy Groundhog's Day, everybody.
Happy Groundhog's Day.
This show brought to you by our 108 Patreon supporters, 107 which hate us right now for doing that to them, making you hear Michael. But we just thought we'd be screwing with y'all to start. But no, thank you to this show's brought to you by our 108 Patreon supporters. You can be one at patreon.com/sunranto. You see the links to tip us for doing this show.
Like 111. Did people jump in there just to get that prize and then bailed?
No, I think what happens is it was the first of the month and people's credit cards expire. So if you're not sure if you're a Patreon member, go take a look and see if you are or not. Like, some people expire. And so like at the first of every single month, the number changes drastically and then it repairs itself like throughout the month. I do not understand how it works, but we will find out. So welcome. My name's Danny Rocket. I'm one of the hosts of this show. The man pouring a Guinness right now with a sore throat from screaming Son Ranto 83 times is Michael Cotton. It's Guinness tonight, huh?
Well, it's actually Guinness NA.
Oh, wow.
It's Guinness Zero is what it is. It looks just like the real thing. It tastes so damn close. But yeah, little shout out to those who don't drink out there. I'm with you tonight.
That's interesting.
All right. Well, we might actually get through this show without an incident then.
Well, I still have Pelican Brewing's The Brood Abides, which is a Russian, a White Russian inspired milk stout.
Oh, wow. That sounds, what's the ABV on that one?
7%. So a little lighter than some of the other things I've
actually
brought
not
on the
bad
show
for
recently.
her beers. Yeah.
Yeah.
she usually rolls in with like a wine bottle, really.
Well, the Brood Abides, they always have these clever names, and it's like band names. Like they've run out of them. There's no more good band names. There's no more good beer names. Everybody needs to stop naming things for like 20 years, and then we could like make up some new things, and then we could get back to naming beers and bands. Are you with me?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I mean, what's the last like really good band name you've heard? I mean,
Bleacher Bum Band. That's the last really good one I've heard. Like,
okay, that's
in fact, it's so good that I was shocked that nobody had ever done it. millions and millions of musicians in Chicago, and nobody ever called themselves the Bleacher Bum Band. Are you kidding me? Like the Bleachers, they thought of like that's like a good like.
Yeah.
I guess it's like the kids like that music. The Gen Zers. They like that.
I've never
stuff.
heard of the Bleachers.
Exactly, because you're not Gen Z. I'm hip like that. You're not. That's how
I
that
got
goes.
children. Oh, but my children are into like jazz. So
Yeah, you got weird kids that like listen to Miles Davis.
they're on the Gen Double Z with the end of that jazz.
Zzz. So what's everybody drinking out there? I'd love to know. Anthony Huffless,
Ooh.
happy birthday, Anthony Huffless, by the way. I just sent him his Nico Horner bobblehead as he was the winner of the Patreon prize of the month. He's drinking a Shiner candied pecan porter. That sounds like
it's good.
Dessert.
It is a dessert one. I feel bad for Corey Furlong. He's drinking white trash.
Relatable.
Isn't that Stroh's or Genesee cream ale or something?
I don't know what it is.
Well, I once again have my
wait. Some more white trash.
Keystone Light from Chris Salato.
Here's my people out here.
Well, I'm
Clint
drinking.
Nathan over here says he's wine tasting by the bottle tonight.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you got this. That's my problem with drinking wine. I consider one bottle one. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I only had 3. What was the problem? Why am I laying on the floor? So I'm drinking out my yerba mate out of my little straw because I pretend I'm Argentinian all winter long. And but this is one of my oldest mugs. And you can see there's a mosquito. I don't want to drop it on my computer. That would be disastrous. But here is I gave blood at Assateague, and there's a giant picture of a mosquito on it. And the reason I bought this mug is I went camping a few times in Assateague where there's wild ponies. It's a border island right on the Virginia-Maryland border. And there's wild ponies. You can go camping. It's really quite magical. And there's a bay side and an ocean side. And let me tell you, stay on the ocean side because on the bay, you do. I got out of the tent. You know how you do, like you're like stumble out of the tent, you got to pee, and you're just go back into the woods and you do your thing. I ended up like I get out of the tent it's early in the morning, sun's coming up. I go into the woods to pee, and I'm peeing, and all of a sudden I'm getting bitten like crazy in the morning. Like they're on me. I'm peeing all over my shoes. I'm peeing all over myself because I'm like swatting away mosquitoes. It was I counted at the end of that trip. I was there for 2 days. It's like 75 bites.
Wow.
It was puffed up. I got allergic. I got sick from it. It was
my goodness.
So I bought a mug and I'm drinking out of it. My oldest mug to date.
Nice. Well, a few more out of the chat here. We got David Elliott has an old fashioned.
Nice.
Kind of nice. Carrie Bronner Meyer, Diet Coke. She is driving through Indiana. So apparently we're on a heads up display in her car or something. She's got one of those new fancy cars.
Nice.
We got some
drive safely, Carrie.
We got some Hooker Crook red wine, Hayden Ford, keeping it classy, boxed wine.
Boxed wine's not bad. It's not like it used to be. It's not like the Franzia days. Like my sister turned me onto some boxed wine, and it was actually decent. And it lasts a long time, and you get like 5 gallons of it for cheap. Like she's like, Costco boxed wine girl.
Dominic Galoro gearing up for not having Pepsi at Wrigley this year.
Yeah. Well, you can bring your own Pepsi in, Dominic, so don't worry about that. So, and Powers Irish Whiskey. I'm going to hit the whiskey later. That's from Mike Waller. Mike Waller is actually going to be on the show later.
So by the time he gets on the show, he's going to be ripped.
Yeah, no, he's going to be here in 20 minutes, and like that'll be enough for him to like at least drink like 5 figures, where he can come on and talk about mental skills. That's what we're going to do.
Perfect.
So, exactly.
I'm dealing with my mental skills right now.
Exactly. Me too. I need a little upper tonight. I've had a headache all day, so if I fall asleep during the cast, I apologize because I wasn't feeling it all day. So I do have some birthdays to announce from some of our ranters and some of the people that joined the Sun Ranto birthday club that are our super ranters. But I did find a birthday song. So this is from my old kids band, Ham and Burger. You look them up. We got kids songs. If you got kids, like it's pretty good albums. I got 2 of them up there. But this is the Happy Birthday to the World song. It's festive. Wait. This is the middle. So I say happy birthday in all these different languages, like a cow and pig do. Anyway. So anyway, here's the birthdays that we got. The aforementioned Anthony Huffless, happy birthday. Bernie Barron, longtime listener, great friend, Bernie Barron, wonderful Cubs caroler. Happy birthday to you. Mike Waller, who will be on the show later, his birthday was on Monday. And also coming up this week from the calendar, we've got Emma, that's the daughter of Jose Orlando down in Puerto Rico. Tori Johnson, there's a picture of her with John Baker, also the mental skills coordinator. And another picture with John Baker for Steve Olson. Steve, it's his birthday on Tuesday, and he won the big prize at John Baker Day one year, where he bid $800 and got to hang out with John Baker at spring training, got his own tour of everything. Oh, do you remember that?
Yeah.
So did bid like $800, raised a bunch of money for whatever charity we were doing the year that happened. So happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to the world, because every day.
Birthday, groundhog.
Every day is someone's birthday, so wish a happy birthday to the world.
I love it.
Yeah, that's the song. So it's a pretty good birthday song. I'll have to teach it all to you so we can sing along. So, all right, real quick, I just mentioned the calendars. They're made. They're not here yet. 101, a record I printed up. And part of that is because we had a lot of Patreon people come at the $12 level. That's where you get the calendar for the year. If you're at the $12 a month level, you get the calendar, and a lot of people did that. So a lot of those 101 are from there. So thank you very much for those that upgraded their pledges to do that. And of course, like, there's a fair amount that like I use as like basically tickets. Like, hey, this guy hooks me up, I'm gonna give him a calendar and he'll remember me, like that kind of thing. It's the people you'd think. It's the people you'd think. Anyway, 101. I'm really impressed. Thank you to everybody.
I can't wait to get mine. I have it hanging right in my kitchen, right next to the fridge. It's great.
I don't think you ordered one. I don't think I have one for you. I'm kidding. I got one for you. It's part of being on the show. I have two.
I think mine can go there.
Yeah, you got no room.
I'll just steal yours, Danny. Whenever I'll just come up and I'll just snake it off the wall and leave.
It can go there under. I'll take one of the W's off. It can go up there. Oh, it can go on this wall. It'll go right there.
Somewhere where you can see the birthdays.
Nope, it'll go right there.
So I just wanted to point out that a lot of Cubs are at spring training. It has begun. Like, the days of like pitchers and catchers kind of roll in, and then the players come. Like, that's done. There's a lot of dudes out there already. Matt Mervis, I don't know if you saw him smacking balls. It's all batting practice stuff, but it's still good to see them doing it. And if you're not following, I wanted to point this out, John Antonoff at Baseball in Focus on Twitter. You should, because he's there taking pictures of everything. And he doesn't have that many followers. And that's kind of shocking, because he really does this every single spring and does an awesome job of it. So follow him. Seiya Suzuki's already there. Yep. So, kind of showing up a little hungry. And
that makes sense, though. I mean, God, if you're coming all the way from Japan, it might be better just to get in and get your stuff together and sort of be able to ease into the season more so than he did last year.
He's also amping up for the World Baseball Classic. He'll be representing Team Samurai Japan.
Oh, right. I forgot. I may be a Japan fan.
So he maybe came in to, get his work in, which is good to see, because I don't know. Those are the only ones I've heard about. I'm sure there are more down there. I know a lot of the pitchers show up early, and especially but if you look at somebody like we talked last week about Matt Mervis being so hungry, and how he was talking about how he picked the Cubs and how he made the spreadsheet and he wasn't a first round pick and it pissed him off and he's got a chip on his shoulder. Well, he's showing up, and remember, they're not getting paid for this. They don't get paid for spring training.
Right. I wonder how many of the sort of guys who've made it kind of help out and let him crash on their couch or something.
He must have some money.
Say has got 3 minor leaguers in his place.
Dude, we didn't think you'd be here. They told us it was okay. But I did want to point this out. Unfortunately, some of the players are playing the wrong sport down there. They got Cade Horton playing football. I'm like, what is going on, Cade? Come on now.
It's excellent for your shoulders.
Is it?
Good. It is. It's good stuff.
Really?
Yeah, they do a lot of. I'm not an expert in this stuff, and I don't pretend to be, but I did. But I did work in a baseball gym for a little while, and the strength and conditioning guys were always throwing a football around with the dudes.
Yeah, and I know they use weighted balls.
Yeah.
They use weighted balls a lot too, and football's obviously heavier than baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps train like the smaller muscles in the arm and shoulder, and it provides supportive.
Mike Waller says it's also great for a changeup release pronation.
Oh,
throwing the
painful
football.
See, throwing out those words, I did not take the classes, so I don't know.
I always get a little bit of anxiety when I hear pronation. Not sure why. Pronation makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it makes you feel
pronation, supination. That's all it means. It means face up, face down. That's all.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. So,
well, trust me. Sometimes I get really confused about whether I should be face up or face down.
I've got pictures to prove it. So I do. It's in the calendar. So March 10th, everybody, check out. That's your birthday, right? March 10th. He's not listening.
Michael Cotton.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was reading
Matt.
I was reading Matt Kammerer's thing here. He says, "Why does everyone except Michael have my art displayed? Is this an Iowa versus Nebraska thing?" By the way, I went and saw the Iowa women beat the Nebraska women playing basketball just last week. But no, you know what? I only have like one thing, maybe two things of Matt's, and for the longest time I used that green screen, so I just didn't have anything going on back here.
Yeah, you need something.
And now I don't have the green screen, and I kind of that's just like sitting on the top of the couch. Nothing's on the wall.
Yeah.
So,
Matt,
you look like a divorced
you're here.
dad.
You're listening. Matt, look, see this right? I don't know how to do this. See that right there? Make me a Kosuke, please. I need a to match. I need a Matt made a thing Kosuke to match my Kerry Wood and Kyle Schwarber. Because
Matt, why don't you
Matt
put
right
your?
There.
I'm not sure what Matt's website is right offhand. Put it in the chat here so we can blow you up a little bit.
And he's Matt made a thing on Twitter.
Yeah, I can find it pretty quick. But you know, seeing them all show up to spring training at the same time, it's called permanent paintings, is what it's called.
I'd love a say on that.
But and I'll drop the link to it in the chat. You guys should buy Matt Kammerer art. In fact, Michael, buy some Matt Kammerer art right now, so you can just change this situation.
Just get it set right in, put up on the wall during the show.
So it reminded me, just spring training started and everything. It reminded me of kind of spring trainings past, and like every year it's a little different. Like some years you're going into the situation where you know exactly who's going to be on the team and exactly how it's going to kind of line up. And other years there's a lot of questions. We just got the news that Dexter Fowler retired, and that's one of my favorite spring training moments, really, of all time, when he showed up, because he was so instrumental in 2015. Getting that team to surprise everybody. The Cubs finally had a leadoff hitter, a switch hitting leadoff hitter, just got on base all the time. And then 2015, he was awesome. Then he signed some like supposedly 3-year deal with the Orioles, and it never happened. And he took less money to come play for the Cubs for 1 year.
So I remember, that was apparently he said that he never did that, and it got leaked somehow that he had some deal going with the Orioles. But that was another one of these, like, he was a free agent for way too long before the Cubs brought him back in. Man, just he was so important to both of those teams. I mean, You Go, We Go is still like right on top of my brain, like when I'm watching baseball. You know, if the leadoff guy gets on, that's the first thing in my head. Yeah, Dexter was amazing. I had a great time watching him.
Yeah, a lot of great memories with him. And let me put up just the numbers. This is his overall stats as a Chicago Cub from years 2015 and 2016.
I can't think of anybody else who was here for all of a year and a half who just feels so much like an integral part of Cubsdom. You know what I mean?
You win. Well, John Baker comes to mind.
And John Baker, and
Cubsdom is littered with guys who are only around for like.
No, but I mean, like I'm still in denial that he's not on the roster. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, and maybe he had a couple of good years with the Cardinals, but he was also injured and stuff like that. But he had an OPS overall of 794, OPS plus of 115. That he had hit 30 home runs in 2 years, so he had some pop. He stole some bases, and just like leading off. And here's I just want to put up his 2016 numbers because he was just ungodly in 2016. As the first batter of the game, he had an OPS of 1.203. I mean, come on now. That's 118 overall plate appearances where he was the first batter of the game. He hit 7 home runs in that time, and he had an OBP of 483. Like, it's just, come on, an SOPS plus of 196 and a T of 184. Just ridiculous. Now, just leading off an inning overall, super instrumental, always getting on base. He had a OPS just 1 point under 1,000 and an OBP of 439, which ain't too shabby. Like overall, because I went a little leadoff hitter crazy because the knock on the Cubs is they never had a leadoff hitter, but Dexter Fowler was really one of the greatest leadoff hitters that the Cubs have ever had in my lifetime, like without a doubt. And I'll give you some numbers because in 2016, he had a 393 on base percentage, which is kind of how I still rate a leadoff hitter. Get the hell on base. Like anyway, get hit by pitches. He got hit by 11 pitches that year. He taught Anthony Rizzo how to do it.
Right.
As in 2016. Now that team was an OBP machine because it was like dude after dude after dude. So you had Dexter with 393 OBP, Benzo with 386, and then Riz and KB at 385. So that's ridiculous. Those are all leadoff hitter numbers, really good ones.
Yeah.
So then it got me thinking about the Cubs leading off in general. Okay. So let me put up here is who has had, and I just put like the minimum of 100 plate appearances batting first, and some of these are actually pinch hit at bats. Like if they replace the first batter, you got an AB as the first guy in the lineup. So, but probably not a lot of that stuff. That doesn't happen too much, but within the last, and I went back only to 2017, which is when Dex left. Guys with at least 100 plate appearances out of the leadoff spot. Kyle Schwarber has the most, 253 plate appearances and an OBP of 304. Like, come on. The best was actually Rafael Ortega. Last in 2021, he took 226. Now, this is a much smaller sample size than you would expect because we didn't have a leadoff hitter. We had a million different guys do it. So that's why you see these like 200 numbers and stuff, because I'll compare it to the Cardinals, who actually had a leadoff hitter, and like what that looks like in a second. But you have the guys with over there's only 6 guys with over 200 plate appearances. That's what I'm trying to say. It is in a year. Kyle Schwarber, John Jay, Rafael Ortega.
John Jay was my favorite.
I know you hated John Jay. Albert Almora. To be fair, you hated John Jay because he was taking at bats from Almora. So, I was. You were kind of wrong too.
It was a dark time.
So, then there's Rafael Ortega in 2022. So he did it twice with 209 at bats. But this guy's got an OBP last year of 289. Come on. And then Christopher Morel had 204 at-bats last year in the leadoff spot. And OBP of 305, a little bit better. Surprisingly, Albert Almora didn't do that bad at it in 2018. Now, he was only facing lefties, but he was getting on at a 368 clip. So it's just, but it hasn't been a while
there. Again, just trying to defend myself here a little bit. There was a while there it looked like he had something going, and everybody, and then he got every day. I thought that would help him, and it did not.
Yeah, it's David Elliott points out Anthony Rizzo down there, best leadoff hitter for 3 weeks. Absolutely, everybody had their turn, and Rizzo did awesome at it. I mean, look at 428 OBP.
979 OPS.
Yeah.
He was crushing homers out of there too.
And, in 2020, which I don't really count as a year, but Ian Happ did quite well in the leadoff spot, which we'll get to him later because, I want to talk about who the leadoff hitter should be on the team. And I think maybe it should be Happ, but
I have a really just dumb thing to point out. It might be dumb, it might not be, but
say it.
Suzuki's on base percentage with the Hiroshima Carp throughout his career, apart from his, debut season. It was never below 320, and the year before he came to us was 433.
Yeah. No, I think that he would be another candidate to do it. Like him or Happ are kind of my guys. But can we get to that in a second? Because I want to talk about Seiya. I absolutely want to talk about Seiya and Happ. And I want to hear in the chat who people think should lead off. I like what Crawley says in the chat, though. He says, Crawley says Albert Almora sucks. He is the fastest tag up artist in the history of baseball. But I got some numbers for you about OBP, and I just did OBP for leadoff hitter by year. Okay. 2017. Okay. It went from Dexter Fowler's 393 down to 324. Now they made the NLCS that year, but 324, that's a huge drop off. Then it kind of rebounded in 2018. 366. Now that's all Joe Madden playing the averages and making sure that the matchup was good. So he still didn't have a leadoff. There's a lot of guys doing it. Then in 2019, the year that pretty much everything fell apart. With the injury, with all the injuries at the end of the year, 294 out of the leadoff spot.
Good Lord.
Then
because it was like Kyle Schwarber for the most part, I think.
Yeah, and then they let him go. Well, right after the next season, which it was 307. So it was above 300 at least. 2021, not so bad. 343. That's Rafael Ortega having a good year in garbage time. It's just what that is. And then 2022, we all know it sucked again. It was down at 307 again. And that's just not going to be good enough. And that's Rafael Ortega having a bad year. So, so we don't have somebody. So we will try to figure out who it should be. But a little bit more on Dexter Fowler. Now, I just went a little crazy on Dexter Fowler and leadoff stuff. But check this out. Now, I wanted to see how Fowler did for the Cubs in the playoffs versus how he did for the Cardinals in the playoffs the years that he was in. And it's magical. You're going to love this. Okay.
Love you, Dexter.
Yeah. So here's what he's slashing. Dex is slashing for the Cubs in a total of 26 games in the postseason, slashing 259, 292, 463 for a 755 OPS, 5 home runs, which you love. We got one very memorable one to start out Game 7 of the World Series, of course, one of the greatest moments of Cub fandom, really.
Ever.
But so 755 OPS, it's half of that for the Cardinals in 12 games. So it's like half the games, but 366 OPS, he's slashing 128, 196, 170. So, that's being a Cub twice.
It really was. It was a double agent situation going on.
So getting back to the Cubs, I told you the highest plate appearances for any leadoff hitter in a year is 253. It's Kyle Schwarber. So I was like, oh, is this normal? I wonder what the Cardinals do. Well, it's very different. very different. Tommy Edman.
Those are 500s.
Yeah, 565 plate appearances. Like he was just in there every day. Matt Carpenter, another one we remember. Tommy Edman had 400 plate appearances in a year. Matt Carpenter, 389, 316. So it's not like they were up there every day. Tommy Edman was obviously the guy in 2021 to do it. But like, you know, and I'm not saying that these guys are great. Like, you know, Matt Carpenter had a 418 OBP in 2017. Like that's pretty damn good. But like, other than that, like no, Matt Carpenter is the only one that came close to Dexter's numbers. Tommy Edman's OBP is nothing to be proud of, but I'm just saying they have a guy that goes in there, does it every day, and they keep winning the division. That's my only point. Then I went down this rabbit hole of leadoff hitters. Who's the best leadoff hitter? Let me ask you, who had the best year of any leadoff hitter since 1984, when I pretty much became a Cubs fan? Who would you guess?
I'm not going to answer this because I already looked at it.
Oh, okay. All right. But, did you look at it, IFG?
I did not.
So who do you think had the best year at the plate as a leadoff hitter?
In the last 40 years. 40 years.
In minimum number of plate appearances.
Yeah, minimum, like, I think I put 400 maybe. 500 maybe. I put 500. It's a lot. Like, I'm like, they were the guy. They let off. That was all year, you know. So Schwarber didn't make any list, you know, because he never had that many. Right.
I don't think we've had a leadoff hitter other than Dexter Fowler in the time that I've been a Cubs fan. So I don't really know who to answer.
All right. Well, I'm just going to put it up. I'm going to put it up because leadoff, it's Alfonso Soriano.
Okay.
924 OPS. In 2007, that was the year the Cubs went to the playoffs and didn't work out, but he had a hell of a year. And then Fowler's the next one down, and this is so minimum funny. 500 plate appearance.
Soriano.
We don't talk about him nearly enough.
I mean, he was with the team 6 years, and he was making a ton of money. And for whatever reason, and I'm guilty of this, like. He just never really became like a
memory hole
part of the Chicago Cubs history. But when you look back at the numbers, you're like, man, why weren't we in love with this guy?
Yeah, we'd take him right now. You take Alfonso Soriano bat and lead off right now.
I'm right here with Clint. I love Sori, and I just.
Put that Clint number thing back. I want to read it out loud for the podcast people. I was thinking Soriano, but I felt like I remembered he was in the power row of the lineup. No, that was the knock on it. That was kind of the knock on it because he hit
all the home from the front.
Yeah, look, the reason he has a 924 OPS is because he hit 33 home runs in 2007. So it's like that's out of the leadoff spot. And like, you know, you're batting in front of the pitcher. It felt like kind of a waste, but they did score a lot of runs. They came in first that year. It was a heck of a year, a lot of fun. But look at these other names: Brian McRae, Eric Young Sr. Then you got Dexter Fowler, David DeJesus, who I worked with a couple years ago and talked to me a lot about the art of leading off and like the mental skills it takes. And I want to talk a little bit about that in the next segment with Mike Waller. But yeah, Eric Young Sr. makes the list twice. Juan Pierre, Jerome Walton is up there for 1989, his Rookie of the Year campaign. And rounding out the bottom of it is Bob Dernier in his 2 years. And, you know, the daily double wasn't all that daily double-ish. You know, I mean, he had a 355 on base percentage in 1984. And that was good for like setting the table, I guess, good enough for that moment. But, you know, he didn't really slug the ball and stuff. But he was good. The Deer stole some bases and 45 stolen bases. I forgot about that in 1984. So that single's as good as a double there. So yeah, we don't really have a leadoff hitter. And then I looked at last year's leadoff, and everybody did it. I mean, this is all the guys that batted leadoff, or at least not necessarily leadoff, but they ended up batting in the first spot. But Rafael Ortega and Christopher Morel, pretty much equal amount of plate appearances, 209 and 204. And then Madrigal McKinstry did it a bunch because he's fast, but man.
But he's not fast enough to steal first base because that's not allowed.
Yeah, exactly. So he did bring his, I forgot about this. He did bring up his batting average to 232, by the end. I mean, we forget we had really, terrible bias with him being so awful at the beginning of coming to the Cubs that I feel like we didn't realize that he started doing better at some point. But anyway, everybody led off and it was not good. And the Cubs were, and that's a OBP of 307 last year for them. So now I want to talk just real briefly about who everybody's pick is for leadoff. Mine's Hap. I'm just going to put up some stats I don't think it's ideal, but it's gone well. This is his career stats leading off a game. He's 230. He's slashing 239, 354, 537, 892 OPS, but the OBP will play. Not a lot, 79 plate appearances only leading off a game, pretty small sample sizes, but he's done well at it. There's that famous, I wouldn't call it famous, but when he was down in Miami opening day, he hit the home run to start the year.
Pitch.
Yeah. First pitch. Great. And then he got sent down. So
and then they got rid of him for months.
Furious.
Leading off an inning, his numbers are also okay. 326 OBP, 800 OPS. So, hits a lot of leadoff home runs actually there, 28 home runs out of the leading off an inning. I don't know if that's a thing or just, but this is also Hap's order splits. So it's not necessarily ideal because batting first, he doesn't do as well as himself. So it's batting third, he's really good. Batting fifth, he's really good. Eighth and ninth, he's best, but there's probably some old stats creeping in there because he doesn't bat ninth much anymore. But he definitely feels comfortable buried down at the bottom. And I don't know if that's like a mental skills thing that I'd like to talk about with Mike afterwards, because I do think there's a mental component to leading off. So who's your pick? Sorry, I've been talking for forever.
You were really going. I loved it. If this had been the old days when we weren't on camera, I'd have gone and got a beer.
Exactly. So he's going to be on this leadoff thing for at least another 10 minutes.
No, I like Seiya.
Yes,
I'm a Seiya guy. I think he's got I feel like he might have the mentality to do it. He does have some pop, but I don't really think he's gonna rock, 30 some homers in a year. He's gonna be around that, 20 mark, and but if he can get the OBP and a batting average up, I'm all for it. In your startup, and I'm for it. What do you think, IFG? I see you getting excited about this. Tell us more, because you're going to have actual numbers to back this shit up.
I don't have a ton of numbers. I'm not really a numbers guy. I'm just I just watch things, and I'm like, hey, that guy's pretty good at stuff. I don't know. But
I think you could eyeball test a thing like the leadoff hitter, because it takes something else.
Didn't you have numbers earlier?
It's a vibes thing. Well, I have a little bit of numbers. I pulled up his numbers from.
I guess that's what I was trying to.
Yeah, so I've got his.
You're like, I just watched it.
I don't know, but I mean, I say it all the time. I watch the Premier 12. I watch a lot of international tournaments, and I watched the Premier 12 in 2019. And I specifically remember being so impressed watching Seiya play that I woke up in the middle of the night all the rest of the tournaments specifically to watch this dude play baseball. And so when I heard he was posted, I was like, holy crap, the Cubs need to get this dude. So that's why, anyway. But if you look at his numbers, which you can pull up on npb.jp, for the Hiroshima Carp, they're all on Baseball Reference now, I guess. But in 2021, he led the entire NPB in on base percentage at 433. That'll play. The year before that, it was, a measly 409. Before that, 453. 438 the year before that. So this wasn't a fluke. He's really good at getting on base.
Yeah. Now, and you may not know this, but did he bat leadoff at all for these teams, or is that just wherever he was at?
Don't know for certain. There were probably speedier guys, but he's also really known for stealing bases too. He's in Japan, he was known as totally a 5-tool player. He's got all the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he stole 9 last year, and with the Cubs, and so did Hap, by the way. They both stole the same amount of bases. I see a lot of people saying Nico in the chat.
That seems to be the winner in the chat.
Well,
I'm seeing
and Nico would say his
over.
OBP is about the same, but Nico stole 20 bases. So if you're thinking like bigger bases, can't throw over, get the little bit more speed, but there's so much more to stealing bases than being fast. Like
you have to have that the judgment and
unless you're super fast.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there was who was that guy?
Terrence Gore.
Yeah, Terrence Gore.
That's who I was thinking of.
They always were getting that one guy. There was a couple guys at the end of the year. There was Terrence Gore, who they got like twice, and then there was one other dude that was also like. Remember we watched the video of him and he was like jumping over cars and stuff. I forget.
Yeah, but Terrence Gore, he's got like 3 World Series rings because he's just the guy you're most likely to grab at the end of the year to steal a base at one time.
So it should be interesting. I just hope that it's not by committee again. Like maybe you have it like a 200.
We've only been complaining about this for I don't know
10 years,
7 years. I mean, even with Madden, it started really with Madden. The just changing the lineup every single day, and I don't think you have to keep the lineup the same every day, but having a general idea of where you're hitting stuff. I teeing up for next segment, mental skills, I think that just settles your brain down as to I'm going to go right after this guy and I'm going to go right before this guy. And we get a little feel for that,
Yeah. The daily double. I mean, that's what I grew up with. You could set your watch by it. It was like Dernier, Sandberg, I think Matthews, Moreland. Like it was, I forget the order, but I used to like dream that order, and I would sit there and play it. I'm 10, I'd sit there, play it in my head, then Davis, then, say, then, So anyway, yeah, I'm curious to talk about it. I want to talk about it with Mike Waller and just want to throw this out there. If you're wondering if because Cody Bellinger can steal a bag, he does not lead off. It's not his thing. He mostly batted 4th, to be honest, as in his career. Trey Mancini has mostly batted 2nd. He's been a little bit lead off, but he's platoon anyway. So, and then Hosmer, we won't even discuss. Just
thank you.
Yeah, 1 plate appearance in the leadoff spot. It probably was a pitch hit. So, yeah. And then the last bit of Cubs news before we get to a quick commercial, and then is that Mark Leiter Jr. is back. Signed a minor league deal. So do a little more pitching depth. It can't hurt, right?
The Cubs just keep trying to get rid of these guys and they just keep coming back.
They're like, hey, they had a good buffet. That's why Seiya showed up early. He's like, craft services is awesome.
And let's see here. Somebody in the chat had asked for an update on Jackson Frazier. He says Jackson Frazier, what's going on with him? He actually got signed on with the Texas Rangers. So.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, good luck to him and his sneaker collection. So,
I thought you were going to say his girlfriend or wife. You were in love with her. Isn't that the one that you were in love with?
No. No, couldn't
that
be.
That doesn't sound like our Danny.
No, that's not me. So, all right. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. It's a commercial for Patreon. So please join us, patreon.com/sunranto. It's how we keep the lights on here at the podcast. And I'll leave you with this. Dominic says, this is what was going through my head. Dernier, Sandberg, Durham, Davis, Morelands, Matthews, Boa. There you go. Something like that. So, all right. Well, we'll be right back. See you on the flip side with Mike Waller from the Cubs PS Plus podcast. All right. All over Chicagoland, there are thirsty, frazzled, overworked Cubs podcasters who are struggling to survive one more baseball season in the dog-eat-dog world of unpaid content creation. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can make a difference. Become a super ranter at patreon.com/sunranto, where your support ensures that poor, sad, pathetic, ugly, loser Cubs podcasters can pay for tickets and beer, and in turn line the pockets of the baseball oligarch Ricketts family. Just $1 a month can buy a scorecard. $5 a month can pay for guitar strings to write a Cubs song. And $10 a month almost buys one beer at Wrigley Field. Cubs content creators are the lowest pieces of pond scum garbage that slither over the face of this planet. But super ranters help them get drunk and screw off at baseball games. What do you get out of it? The Son Ranto Show delivered to your podcatcher without stupid advertisements like the one you're seeing and hearing right now. Plus, at other Super Ranter levels, you can get Cubs music, access to private Son Ranto pages, the Ranter calendar, and special thanks and Ranter recognition in our live broadcasts. Plus, eligibility for monthly prizes. What does Son Ranto get out of it? Your money. For tickets and beer. Go to patreon.com/sunranto. That's patreon.com/sunranto. And become a Super Ranter today. Welcome back. I would like to point out the Patreon prize of this month, which is this fancy dancy South Bend Cubs hat, a middle of nowhere, middle of the friendly confines Cubs shirt, and a pop socket. It's a good, nice. It's a little Myrtle Beach Pelicans pop socket. You can put it on the back of your phone. Your kids will love it. Oh, and also I want to point out that we are giving away the Amazon prize of the month for those of you that shop through our Amazon link at sunranto.com/stuff. We will try to give away this really cute little water bottle. We tried last time. Remember, somebody with a dog leash won, and they never claimed their prize. I guess they got embarrassed because we kept making fun of that it was for being used for naughty.
You know what that means? The next person gets 2 of them.
No, that's not what that means. It means I get one. That's what it means.
It just keeps building.
Double it, give it to the next guy. Double it, give it to the next guy.
All right. Well,
857,000 little baseball dude water bottles.
Oh, I've got 12, so that's that's as much as we could do. I'm sending 3 to my nieces, so we got 9. This is really what we got. So, without further ado, I want to bring on our guest. He's from the Cubs PS Plus podcast, and he is actually one of our main supporters, our super ranter, a super ranter galore, if you will. Mr. Mike Waller's got an awesome show from the Cubs PS Plus. Welcome to the Son Ranto Show, my friend.
Hello, thanks for having me in.
Yeah, I like look at his fancy microphone thing.
I love it.
We don't have those. We don't have
I'm not
logos.
even on YouTube yet, but I'm ready.
Yeah, you're ready. You're ready for prime time here, Mike.
That is nice. I like that logo. What are we doing? I'm going to put some like duct tape up here and just write Son Ranto on it.
Meanwhile, our logo is literally a stick figure that Michael drew in like 8 seconds. So I don't know. We need some of your professionalism, Mike, because we could learn from you. And I did learn from you. I'd like to play real quick. You threw this out on TikTok. Just a little part of your interview with David De Silva about David Bodie's Immaculate Grand Slam. That's what it was called, right? The Immaculate Grand Slam.
Yep.
So here, let me play this real quick.
Blessed to be in that, watching that game, and such a remarkable demonstration to me of being present. Really, for different players, they can put more worth on a situation, and obviously there could be more value to a situation at the end of their career, at the beginning of their career, at the end of their contract. So again, it goes back to what's their mindset they have, and teaching them the ultimate goal, really. And again, going back to something mentioned before, paying attention to the right thing at the right time, regardless of the situation. What that really is being in the zone, creating the mindset of just being able to let go, non-judgmentally, enjoy that situation, not think of what you did in the past, not foresee what happens in the future. And I think David did that extremely well in that situation. To his credit, there's a lot of failure behind.
Yeah, that home run from David Bowie earned him $6 million.
15, I think, isn't it?
It really did, because I mean that's the only thing he really ever did.
Well, he did that a couple of times late in the game, though.
Yeah,
I remember
he did have some big spots his rookie year.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mike, you had this. It's an hour-long conversation with David De Silva, and I found it really fascinating. And you kind of inferred to me that it's something, the mental skills side of the game, it's something that is very personal to you, and that it's something that you're particularly interested in. So I was wondering if you could just kind of like fill me in on where your intersection is with the mental skills side of baseball.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I played high school baseball really badly. So I didn't have skills, so I had to be smarter. I had to know where the ball was going because I wasn't going to throw it to the right spot. I think building on that too, I think we all have in our careers good times and bad times, and we go through stretches where life seems to throw a bunch of shit at us, and we can't handle it. And then now that I have kids, all 3 of my kids have played baseball. 2 of them are pretty serious about it. And I watched my oldest go through getting cut 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade before making varsity. And he wound up actually starting as a starting pitcher on senior day. And I've got my youngest now is battling, and he's got some performance anxiety. He's battled through being kind of afraid of the ball for a while, but he's getting through that. And I had a couple coaches that we found that really focused on the mental side. And so I've coached a lot too. And that's something, how do you get everything from how do you get like a 9-year-old to actually pay attention and concentrate and listen to what you're saying? But also, how do you take that kid that wants to be better, but is frustrated, and every single time they screw anything up, it's a meltdown, or they're telling themselves they suck. So watching baseball, we see these young kids come up. We see, on the one hand, we see Christopher Morel come up and just like light the world on fire in his first at bat, and we're all totally in love. And then we see guys, Hap did it. He came up, got off to a good start. We saw him go back down to the minors, have to grind for another few months before getting another shot. Schwarber did it too. There's just so much that goes into this. And I really got the idea for this episode when I was talking back. Well, I'll back up one step further. In my own life, last spring, I was really burnt out at the job that had been great, wasn't so great anymore. And so I just decided to quit and take some time off. And that's what got me into this podcast to start with. So mental skills kind of got me here anyway. But I was talking to Mark Weissman in an episode I did, I think in November. He's the strength and conditioning coach for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. And Michael, you might remember him from being an Iowa running back. So I was talking to him, and he was talking about what the mental skills coaches do for the whole program. So right now the Cubs have 2 mental skills coordinators, and David De Silva is one of them. And they spend time with players. He talked about it in my podcast. They get time with every player at least once a month. And they also work with the local coaches. So they give everybody a battery of things to work on and tools to use. And I thought that David would be a really interesting interview. So I reached out, and he was willing to do it and very gracious with his time. And I thought we had a really good discussion.
Yeah, David Elliott brings up in the chat, he's a really interesting guy. He really was, and not a baseball guy. He played soccer, and he was intrigued by the grind and mental aspect of baseball, because it really is such a still game that you have to be so focused as you stand there very still waiting for something to happen, whether it be a pitch or a swing or a ball, or it's coming straight at your face. So
yeah, but Pink has had a great question though that we need to address. Is this British Rossi?
He's South African Rossi.
Yeah, he's
South African Rossi. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, one thing weird about the South African accent is it does sound closer to English or Australian, and I think about how far the American accents, all of them, have come from that accent, whereas like they're just as far away, but they maintain a British kind of sound, at least to my ear.
Well, it's a funny story. When I got on with him before we went live on the mic, I'm making sure I have his name correct and some other things. I was validating he was from South Africa, and he was very happy I didn't say he was from Australia. So
that's actually the thought I had. I thought he was Australian.
So one interesting thing that kind of, to me, there's a certain sort of like buzzword quality to all these kind of, in some ways, like you can feel a little pop psychology to me. If I was going to throw a little criticism at it, like I wrote down something: process versus outcome, proactive versus reactive, being in the moment, being in the zone. I mean, these are things that I've pretty much said all my life, like as an artist and like, and I know what they're talking about. Like when I'm like on stage playing guitar and I'm singing and like I almost like can transcend my own abilities and not really know how I'm doing it. I'm just able to do things because I'm in the zone. But if I'm sitting there thinking about what I have to do and I'm going to fuck up the lyrics and I was a little flat on that last note and my string is broken on my guitar, like these things can like ruin your time, to the point where you're just up there with a headache and you just want to go home and get off the stage and cut the last 3 songs. I've been in both of those situations. And so like, to me personally, like I understand what that performance means, but doesn't it also just mean like, just shut up and do your job and don't worry about it? I mean, so I almost like kind of dumb it down to that point for myself. Because if I'm sitting there like with like weird like Ziggy cartoons from junior high, or a cat with hang in there poster or something.
Yeah, I think I'm a lot the same way. It's like, it's the motivational poster speak is nice and all, but what's my action item? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here that makes the thought better?
Yeah, and I would love to talk to him again, and hopefully I will in the future, because I want to pull him. I was trying to pull him out of that to some extent. But there were a couple times where I think he did step out. At one point, he was talking about they work with the players to understand from like 0 is comatose and 10 is you just hit a walk-off slam to win the World Series, freaking out. Where are you? And every guy has their baseline. So like Kyle Hendricks is probably always a 2 or a 3 if things are going well. Christopher Morel, Javi Baez, their baseline is probably more like 7, 8, 9. And he said that they often talk to players and ask the coaches to talk to the players, like asking, where are you now? And if a player says they're a 4 and they're usually at a 7, then they have given them strategies, try to figure out how to fire themselves up or get your mind back into the game to that way. And it might be more important on the other end if you're usually a Kyle Hendricks level 3 and all of a sudden your heart's racing and you're at 8, like you do some breathing. He did talk about a player in AA, I think, who came into a game and just like wasn't feeling it. And I think this guy actually needed to get amped up, but David was there on site that day, just happened to be, and so walked him through the dugout and gave him some breathing exercise to work on to get him where he needed to be, and it worked. And I think really the biggest thing with all of this is, I mean, we've all seen The Natural, right? With the sports psychiatrist losing his disease, it's as contagious as syphilis, and that mind-numbing, just over and over routine stuff. I really think they try to give the players a whole suite of things, and they're supposed to pick out the things that work for them. And I think he did say a couple times throughout that, and I've seen this in my own life, people can tell me how to do something or go through a routine and like, whatever, I can do this, until I screw it up and then think, maybe if I'd have gone through the routine, this would have worked out better. So I think they try to give them those over and over again. They have also brought older players back to talk to the younger players about it, get some buy-in with it. I guess the other thing that stood out to me is I was asking him, baseball traditionally is such a superstitious sport. There's rituals, you got to pull your batting gloves out 8 times every time you step out of the box. And I asked him about routine versus ritual versus superstition. And they know they have to deal with
versus OCD, like Nomar.
Exactly.
Like Nomar would lose his goddamn mind out there.
Yes. And to some extent, you can't take that out because that, in some cases, that gets a player into their comfort zone. And if Nomar doesn't undo the batting gloves 8 times, he doesn't feel ready to go. But the one thing he did keep coming back to is he really tried to work with the players to understand the pieces that they could control. Everything else, if there's a superstition or dirty socks that you wear on a hitting streak, like the socks aren't making you hit in 12 games straight. But if there's something mental that has you walking up to the plate positive and confident in what you're doing, then maybe there is a little bit of residual value, but there's nothing inherent about the socks.
There is value because the catcher can smell your feet. And
exactly.
He's like,
fastball, get him out of here.
Yeah, throws him off his game.
It's valuable in as much as it makes you comfortable and it makes you feel good. And it's not hurting anything. So go ahead and keep doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that I asked him because all this stuff made me think of, because we had John Baker on the show, who was the mental skills coordinator for the Cubs for a bunch of years. And also now he works for the Pirates as a farm director. So listening to your podcast, I told him that I just listened to David De Silva on a podcast. I texted him and I had a few questions of like, how long has this been part of this game? And it seemed like to me a somewhat new position. And he said the Cubs did it in 2014 is when they started their program. And Madden kind of was screwing around with the Ken Ravizza, who had written a bunch of books about like mental skills in baseball. And he said, and then after that, everybody copycatted. So I don't know how much of necessarily of an edge teams are getting over other teams, because he said, I go, does everybody have one of these mental skills departments now? And he's like, yes, they do. They all have it. And I'm probably, just like anything else, varying degrees of success based on the talent of the people that you have running your department. But it is sort of a new thing. And then I got to wondering, and let me put this question out for you. I mean, is this just another thing that's kind of separating players out? Like, because the big dumb guy who just, go up there, hit it, or John Lester. I don't need no mental skill. I'm tough up here. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to pitch it. I don't want to listen to this guy. I'm not doing guided meditations. I'm not oming, I'm not, doing any of that stuff that maybe they want you to do because they think it's, granola or whatever in that way. Mm-hmm. But is that going to now, because this is such a big part of the game, is that going to separate out like even more so like players that don't do that, that aren't receptive to that? Well, you can't be on the team now because you don't meditate with us and hold hands and sing Kumbaya in the locker room. I mean, I'm taking it to the extreme, yeah. But it's just something I thought of. And I don't know if that's the case, but
I guess anything's possible. I mean, he was talking about trying to meet the players where they are. He also spent a lot of time talking about what they do, like in the Dominican and Venezuela, when they've got these camps that teenagers are in there. And he talked about getting the new draftees, the high school kids that just get drafted. The college kids probably already had some level of this in their college program. Certainly if they played for top programs, they did. But he made it seem like it was more of, we're trying to give them a tool set and we want to give them all the things they might need and not force anybody in. Like, they are who they are. You're not going to change John Lester. And if John Lester came up today, he's probably still John Lester. And he may take some mental skills from the package that they give. But yeah, he's probably still going to be old school. He's probably not going to do yoga every other day. But I think there is some value in presenting it to them consistently and having it show up over time. And so they always have this. And another interesting segment he had was talked about injury. And I used Brendan Davis as an example, because I mean, Brendan Davis has worked his whole life to be a Major League Baseball star. And with the back injury last year, the potential setback in the fall, not only was last year just a wash, now nobody knows if he's going to come up this year. And he was talking about the injury prevention. And he said with Brendan Davis, I think his direct quote was, Brendan carries himself like a big leaguer and already sees himself as a big leaguer. And he's been through injuries before. So this has not been necessarily, I mean, there's always a mental battle, but this has not been catastrophic for Brendan Davis. But he says a lot of times you get an injury and maybe it's a pitcher, or you get the kid. It can be a first injury, maybe the first time you have a shoulder problem and you have to sit down. And talked about how sometimes the mental skill is actually, hey, just back off. Trying to get back too soon is going to cause more problems. Ramping up the workouts too early is going to cause problems. And so those kinds of things, those new experiences for players, first time you get passed in the system, everybody comes in and talks about, they all see themselves as big leaguers from the point they're drafted, right? I mean, these are type A competitors and they go at it. And at some point you're going to hit that first stall, maybe not if you're Chris Bryant, you sort of breeze through everything, but everybody else is, even if you race to the big leagues.
Well, he's hitting it in in Colorado.
Well, that's true. That's true.
His,
yeah.
It's his first real big stall is out there.
Well, and that's kind of a great point because we've all seen people that have been stalled, and his career has been stalled by injuries, and I think there's no doubt about that. And being able to bat, and so everybody says he's made of glass, and he's obviously not. Like, geez, I got hit once with a pitch, I'd still be laying there, but but he's. But what I'm saying is, like, he has not been able to battle back from these injuries, and there's some guys like Anthony Rizzo's out there looking like he's like got a side of beef like hanging off of his ankle, and it's like, is that your foot, dude? Like, they take you to the butcher shop and have that thing hacked off and serve it. But it's like, but some people can play through pain, and it is such an individual thing. And when I started thinking about it as individually, like I think about even just the four of us sitting here right now. Like sometimes, like when I start this show, like it's live, there's a bunch of people watching. I sweat. Like I get like the nervous sweat sometimes. And you could probably tell that I'm like amped up. Now, sometimes like I'm a person that likes to run when we're doing something live, when I'm going, I like to run it like a 9. You know what I mean? Like I like to run that hot, I get a lot of energy from it. I'm not one that's going to sit back and, just listen to people and just like be calm. I'm just not, like, it's just not my style. But that's, so for me, like, I want a little upper, like, I want to get going, to do the show. If I, you guys probably prepare a little bit differently, sometimes I need to calm myself down from a 10, Mike, like you were saying, like, I'll be like, ready to go on the show, and I'm like eating a Cheeto, then I run around and I stretch my leg, and then I'm like, oh, I need another drink. Oh, I forgot this, and I'm totally scatterbrained. And I need to take that moment to focus, to come on here and make some sense, and to, be willing to listen and to give energy and receive it and all these things, and I think we all find this. Like, I don't know, what's your, I'm looking
at the other way.
Michael does to prepare.
I'm the other way. So I'm
I'm always rolling into this show nice and easy. I just, I know. I watched the team. I figured it out.
Why? What do you do, IFG?
Me, I deal with major anxiety and generalized anxiety and major depression. So I'm on a small cocktail of medications to sort of help balance myself out. And by the time I, get ready for the show, I'm sort of winding down for the day. I tend to be really, sort of up and happy about things when I'm happy about things. I don't really do things in half measures. So the treatment plan that I'm on is sort of to help balance that out a little bit.
You know what's funny, IFG, is I'd been dealing with the anxiety and the depression for years. The only time I was good was during the show. It was the only time.
It helps. It helps because it gives you something to focus on that isn't the weasels that are spinning in your head.
That's being in shows too. That's being in musicals.
Absolutely.
I mean, and then I'd be out till 5 a.m. after doing a show, because I'd be so amped up, and I'd get back and I'd be like, the sun's coming up, and I'm like, I gotta go to bed. I got a matinee. Oh God.
Yeah, it's so nice to have the pressure of a performance to take away from the pressure of the internal stuff. And I think a lot of people who are involved in different forms of entertainment and show business are the same way.
We use drugs. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like Judy Garland. You Judy Garland out. You take your uppers, you take your downers, and you get through the show. I mean, now at least I've like graduated to yerba mate at this point, but it wasn't always like this. Mike, like when you went on to interview David, like what was your? I mean, you're prepared. Like, what's your process? Just curious.
So
I think everybody has a process.
Yeah, I mean, I'm naturally a pretty chill guy. I'm pretty laid back, and I found my first couple episodes when I started doing the podcast, I was aiming too much for perfection. I do an edited show, so I can go back and I can cut things and I can re-record things. And the first 2 episodes, I was trying to cut out every and like it just wasn't natural speech. And so I found that I had to get comfortable with what I was going to talk about. I can still botch something and put a silence in and edit it out. But I I'm trying to make myself go more and more off like a shell of a script as opposed to a script, because I will fall back on just reading it. So I try to make sure I've got all my numbers in front of me and all that kind of thing. But doing this live, this is really cool. I've done 4 or 5 interview shows. Those are some of my favorites because you just have to go.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed in your show, Mike, is that, you're by yourself, and I do Baseball Rabbit Hole by myself. I script 100%. Everything that I say on that, I have written, because it's hard to do when you're doing it alone, and I know you've had some interviews and stuff and you're on here, you're doing good. Like, I guess maybe explain a little bit of how you deal with it being alone versus talking to somebody.
It's a little bit of pressure. I mean, I can't divert anything to anybody else. If something gets screwed up, it's 100% mine. It's my idea. It's my content. I'm the one speaking. I do the audio production. So that is both kind of fun and exhilarating, and it's also some pressure. I went through my first episode or 2. I tried to work for more of an outline. Then for about 5 or 6 episodes, I did script 100%.
Well, what I like about your episode is it's got about your podcast. It has an angle, and that you kind of have more of a stats slant to things. And it's not just like, oh, let's talk about the Cubs. Like, you have a certain perspective that you're intersecting at the team with. And I find it kind of refreshing that, almost like a bullpen has specializations. Cubs podcast should have specializations.
Yeah.
Like, you could be the stats, Cubs stats podcast. We'll be the jester podcast. And, and then we'll have everybody in between.
And finding a niche is not easy. I mean, I'm not one of the beat writers, so I can't do what, say, Cubs Talk was doing, or what Ryan Herrera does, or, some of those people who are in the locker room every day. I don't have a million Cubs connections. I'm starting to get connected with a few people. I don't do it's not daily content. I'm not responding to every game. So it is my thoughts, but I do also try to bring myself into it. I remember the Field of Dreams game. My dad passed away last spring, and he was so excited the year before watching the Field of Dreams games. I grew up in Iowa, just north of Des Moines, and he loves everything about the Field of Dreams. So I was able to come in and talk about how, that was my parents' favorite baseball movie, and kind of bring a personal side to that, then talk about the coolness of the game. Now in the off season, there aren't a ton of stats to talk about. I mean, I've talked about Dansby and some of the acquisitions, but I'm trying to bring in some different guests, and that's kind of where David Da Silva came in. I brought in Mark Weissman to talk about strength and conditioning, and bring in David Da Silva to talk about, mental skills. I'm working on, there's a hitting coach here that's worked with my kids that played in the Rockies organization that I had on the fall, Chris Vasami. He and I are working on an episode about power that we'll have in sometime.
Very cool.
3 or 4 weeks, but just trying to bring something a little bit different that maybe I don't hear other places.
Yeah, well, that's what I dig about it. It's just like, because you can't know everything, and it's and I like the fact, and everybody's kind of always saying the same thing. It's like I was texting.
You've already taken my podcast. I was going to record tomorrow, so thanks.
Well, exactly. Well, it's funny because Crawley and I were texting back and forth. Former host of this show and oftentimes host of the show. He he's like, damn it. It's like, Chuggo's going every day. It's impossible to do the show because, they already talked about everything. And I'm like, who cares? We're not the news. Everybody already talked about everything. It's all talked about on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook and on every,
we've all talked about it to each other. We're just going to talk about it again. It's fine.
And then guess what? We're going to go on Discord after, and we're going to talk about it again. And it doesn't matter. We will be bitching about Sammy Sosa not coming back for
another 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. I got no shortage of things to bitch about, but I really don't. But no, I want everybody to check it out, because I know it's pretty new podcast. You got 30, 40 episodes out?
25 actually.
25. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Well, yeah, everybody should check it out. One of the things that I want to thank you for your support, of course, with the Son Ranto show. You're one of our biggest supporters at Patreon, and
I love the show.
Thank you. And I love your show too. And so we'll definitely have you back on at some other point.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about things that we're too lazy to look up.
I need to get on the live show more. I can fill cotton in with statistics.
Yeah,
yes, do that.
Or or
bring in stat people, so I can just be like adorable.
Yeah. If you ever just come across something interesting, and you want to, let us know about it.
Come on the show. Let us know.
Come right on the show and tell us about how Soriano was way better than we ever thought.
Just not in 2009. That's what killed it all.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So, well, we're gonna. Thanks for coming on the show, Mike.
Yeah,
everybody, listen to the podcast, and when I have you on again, we're gonna play another commercial break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about. We're gonna do a little good, bad, and the ugly.
Mike, you got to give us a spagog on the way out, though.
Yeah, you must.
Do I do that?
You must right now. You got to spagog us.
Spagog.
There you go.
We'll be right back.
Stuff. Hey, Cubs fans, at Amazon.com, do you buy lots of stuff? Why not support the Son Ranto Show by shopping through sunranto.com/stuff? All you gotta do is fill your cart at Amazon with lots of stuff. Then before you check out with all of that wonderful stuff, head on over to sunranto.com/stuff and click any of our Amazon links before you buy your stuff. Check out like you normally would with all that beautiful stuff. And the Son Ranto Show will get a small kickback because of the stuff you bought. And you'll be helping the Son Ranto Show buy all the stuff we need to stay on the air talking about the Cubs and other stuff. Plus, you could win a monthly prize if some of your stuff is chosen for Amazon stuff of the month. And if you win, we'll send you more stuff. Sunranto.com/stuff. That address again is sunranto.com/stuff.
Welcome back to the Son Ranto Show, and thanks to Mike Waller from the Cubs PS Plus podcast. Everybody check that out.
We have talked a lot of Cubs baseball today.
It's almost like we're a baseball podcast. That's weird. So
it doesn't sound like us.
Yeah, it does not. We are wearing baseball clothes, though. We're all wearing Cubs gear, at least.
This
drinking
right here, by the way, this is a Hayward hoodie. My wife got it for like $2 at the at a thrift store, man.
Nice.
I'm loving it.
So we just had a commercial for sunranto.com/stuff, formerly sunranto.com/Amazon. We had to switch it for legal reasons. Clint Nathan, who I just saw in the chat, is on his second bottle of wine. Congratulations. I'm going to catch up with you in a little bit when we get over to Discord, when we start shooting the shit over there. Says, hell yeah, Waller. Yeah, it's true. I agree. So we do a contest every single month for people that do shop through our Amazon link at sunranto.com/stuff. All you got to do is fill your cart, click on one of our Amazon links at sunranto.com/stuff, and then check out like you normally would, and we get a little kickback. And these are the people that, Carrie noticed IFG with a wardrobe change. Very nice. Very nice. So here's not a lot. I mean, people probably pretty tapped out from Christmas and the holidays and everything. So there were only a total of 32 items ordered through sunranto.com/stuff. Last week, or last month, I should say, it was the dog chain, that one. And now you see somebody has bought a pooper scooper. So I wonder if it's the same people. Also a Houston Astros 2022 World Series champions patch. So that's a little weird.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
and they're using your link. What?
Yeah, and they get. And so anyway, we got Dr. Scholl's freeze away skin tag removers, 8 treatments. So good luck with.
I like the bowling ball towel because somebody is loving the winter life. Going bowling and stuff, you get that little bowling ball towel and you just, I don't know what it does. It slicks your ball up. I don't know. It just looks cool when you got a big heavy ball in a towel and you rock it back and forth.
Sir.
I did notice there's another dog-related item number 11, a 6-pack of dog fence batteries for invisible fence. Michael, with all your fence issues over the years, you ever think about getting an invisible fence? Like, it seems like that one might not break on you.
I had one, Danny, and I had one, and then my dog would just keep running through it, and then he got like a sore on his neck, and
oh god,
it was terrible. So I had to get rid of it and get a regular fence that just kept getting blown over.
Exactly. Just let your dog run free, damn it. So I'm going to share this number picker wheel, and how this works is that there's 32 slots on the wheel. They all correspond to one of those 32 prizes or 32 items that were ordered. And you'd have to come forward, and then you win that cute little water bottle with that Cubs man. So here we go. I'm giving it a spin.
Betting on this. I'm betting on 24.
Okay, I'm going 23. Ryan Sandberg. 21.
Ooh.
So let's see what 21 is. All right, so I'll remove that, and then
you just ate. She has like an entire cake. She's like eating with a fork.
So the 21, the winner is the ultra thick body wipes for adults bathing 12-pack. You are the winner of IFG's cake. So,
wait, what was that? It was an adults bathing.
It's the adult ultra thick body wipes for adults bathing. So it's like body wipes.
Oh, okay.
You win this cute little water bottle of this little Cubs guy. So just send me a DM at Sunranto on Twitter, or sunranto at gmail.com. And next you can also get a slice of IFG's cake. That is an entire cake you're seriously eating right now.
That's what I said.
So I happened to be at the grocery store when I found out that today is National Catcher's Day. That seemed like a good enough excuse for a cake. So
hell yeah.
Love you. Happy Catcher's Day. You may share my cake if you can get here.
If you can get to Seattle. So anyway, thank you for everybody that shops at sunranto.com/stuff. You win. So we're going to do a little good, bad, and ugly. This is a thing we do every now and again, except where we usually do Cubs gear. But this time we decided to judge Cubs logos throughout history. We each picked a good, a bad, and an ugly. And IFG, why don't you put up your graphic? I don't know where you
yeah, let's find that.
You got. Oh, I see it. I'll put it up.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's what we picked. So maybe we can explain these.
Mine are all of the hey, slap a bear on it persuasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got what's that first one? It's a blue sea with, I call it the kangaroo cub, which he's standing on his hind legs, he's holding a bat, and he's got a kangaroo face. He does not look like a bear.
It's adorable. It's from like
what year is
I think it's like 1910 to 1917 or something like that. And it's lovely. It was on their throwbacks at the Field of Dreams game, I think, wasn't it? I believe it was.
The bear was in the red sort of pointy C.
Oh, in the pointy C. Okay, yeah, that's I think later. But no, man, I just love this logo. It's symmetric. It does what it says on the tin. It lets you know these are the Chicago Cubs. It's aesthetically pleasing. It matches with everything. You can put it in all the colors, and the bear stands well enough on his own. Unlike the guy in the middle, where it's not really terribly evident that he's a bear at all. Looks a little bit like an angry orangutan in the middle of just some random C from your homework assignment.
I'm glad that so this is funny. So IFG and I both had the same. I had a slightly different variation of her good as my good.
Yes, you just had like the bear from I think 1917 or something. Or
right.
14.
And then, but this one you have in the middle, this bad, I really hated it. It was one of my uglies. I couldn't figure out where to put it. I just, I went with the one that I did, but you and I have the same eye for this because all three of yours are ones that I absolutely would have picked.
Well, yeah, if I can explain your bad here. First of all, the sea is red, which, Cubs are blue, and I really like the navy blue of your good. Like that is a great color. Like you said, you can dress that up. And I personally call this questionable looking bear with a baseball over his head. I call it monkey taking a shower because he looks like he's doing his hair a little bit. So
yeah, and that was from like the 40s, right?
Something like I didn't even look. I was like, "What? This is ridiculous looking." I think
it might be a little more 30s. Like it was a Great Depression bear. They couldn't afford
Great Depression bear.
Yeah.
The one that I have on the end. The one on the end here that I have for my ugly is it's one of those like hand drawn or hand embroidered bears, but it's on like this yellow coat of arms, and I've only ever seen it on baseball cards, and it just looks like you don't look at that and you think these are the Chicago Cubs. It's brown and yellow and a shield. None of these things are in any way related to the Cubs in any way whatsoever, and it's not even pretty.
I don't see that as a shield. I see that as a wall mount. Somebody killed that bear and mounted his head on the wall. That's what that looks like to me.
I call this one the Eddie Munster because he's got the widow's peak, but the widow's peak's like going off to one side, like it's not even a well done widow's peak. Like the perspective's all wrong. Like it's obviously the person that drew this did not go to art school. I mean, there were no Matt Camerers back then. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
So they're very good choices, I think. I've only seen that one on baseball cards too. So Michael, why don't you give me some of yours? Like what you're good. Right. I like this good. That's the 84, right?
It is the 84. They actually started it in 79. It went like 79 to 94. But yes, this is the logo that they had when I truly became a Cubs fan, and it just always holds a special place in my heart. I generally, if I see something with that on it, that's what I'll buy.
Yeah, that's the blue bear. Now, I think that bear kind of looks angry as well.
I call it the drunk raccoon.
Well, it's not as angry as the 94 bear. The 94 bear is like pissed.
Oh, yeah. They still use a version of that one in South Bend, right?
Yeah. Yes, they do. It's the South Bend one now. Yeah, but you're right, Danny. I think this bear is a little bit angry, a little bit peeved.
I'm fine with that, though. Like, you kind of got to have a little, that'll focus a man. Like that'll focus a bear. I'll tell you that much. You don't want an angry bear coming at you. And, I want my team to be a little angry, but I'll get to that when I tell you my good.
Yeah. So then we go to my bad, and it's the current logo. They call it the Target. And I actually have two of them up there because that one with the thin blue circle around it versus the thicker blue circle. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not really much different. They're both just kind of the same thing. That has been the Cubs logo since the 1950s. And it's time. I'm done with it. Like, let's do something else. I don't
know. I feel like that one's going to stay forever because it's
I don't think we're getting rid of it at this
already
point.
Been there forever. I mean,
well, exactly.
But
it's
there
like
are so many. When we look at these, when I was looking at them, there are so many different variations and so many things that they have done. But then, like this one, they're just like, we're just going to keep this for the next.
Because it's simple. It's super
years.
simple, and I think there's no way you're getting rid of that. But I do agree. It's boring. I agree that it's like Go Cubs Go. Like we're just stuck with it forever. That's just how it's going to be.
Yep. And then, then my last one, I think that was this is like 1948. The bear head is very similar to the bear head that IFG had. It's got the widow's peak and everything. But this is terrible as a logo. It's kind of orange it's a bear head, and right under it, it's got Cubs in script with like I know it's probably supposed to be red, but it's like an orangey red.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. And when you put both of those things together from a distance, you wouldn't be able to see either one of them. You would just be like, there's a blue and orange blob on that jersey over there. You could easily think that was like an actual Chicago Bears football logo.
Once again,
versus
it was
Cubs.
it was right after the war, and they had to send all the red to rebuild Germany, and so that we only had orange for a while.
I mean,
okay, Danny, you might be right. Maybe they didn't want to go with red because it was a communist color.
It looks like the title page of a children's book from the 1940s.
Yeah, no wonder
you're right. That's
no wonder
exactly
they sucked.
You
can't go up there looking all cute.
Little children's book. Yeah. Okay, Danny.
Look at the Chicago Cubbies. They're going to get together and play a sports.
Yeah. Danny's got some interesting choices here because you're good. You'll have to explain it. But I know I saw a lot of people like in the Discord and different places that would have had that as a bad or an ugly.
Oh, I know. Well, people are calling it the Angry Badger. They said it looks like the Wisconsin logo, which I get. Like, I agree with that. But I just like that he's the most ferocious of all the bears.
I agree. I love this bear.
And he's got teeth. And like, maybe if they made him look a little bit, I mean, it's too late. Like, what's done is done. This is the nostalgic logo, but this was the logo during World War II. And I just feel like that's everybody's mood at the time. Like, let's get a little freaking tenacious here. Let's like bite some opponents. Like, they weren't very good then either. But 45, they made it. So, anyhow,
I mean, it's on the freaking Mars.
Yeah, and the face is already on Mars. So like, it's exactly the same thing. But this bear face is on no gear. None.
Yeah, it's super hard to find. You're right.
Yeah. And so I texted Billy DeVore, and I was like, hey, because he's got In the Clutch t-shirts, and he works there, and they don't have the team license, but they said they can do parody. So if anybody can think of a really good parody to do with Angry Badger, it's been called in the chat. If anybody can think of a good parody, I would just just put Angry Badger. And just call it a day, and then just show up at the game and let people infer what I'm going with.
They could literally just, instead of it being brown, because this is another logo that went with the brown bear, they could make that blue, and then it'd be different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it brown, like it feels like a real bear, like it's really going to come out and bite you. That's kind of what I like about it.
And he's into the realism of this ferocious bear.
I am. No, because it's time again, everybody. Here, I'm going to take this down so you see I'm serious. It is time again. Do you remember how I was in 2015? Yeah. Do you remember how I was in 2015? That I was like, we need to step on some necks. Like, you got the guys showing up at spring training early. Like, it's time to start like revving up some engines, because this team has the capability of doing better because they're the Cubs and we fans are behind them in a very tenacious fashion. I think we should we had a couple years of sucking. We all sat in 1914 club and got drunk with Crawley. That was fun. We had a good time. But now it's time to get serious again and be like the tenacious bitey bear. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. It's bitey bear.
Bitey bear.
Oh my gosh.
Bitey bear.
Write that down.
Yeah, please do, because I will forget, because that's how my brain works. So, and then, all right, so here's my bad. I call this, I call it the hippo, and it's inside of a bear's. This is from, did I write down what year this is from? I did not.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I did. It's 1916 through, no, just 1960. It only made it 1 year. And thank God, because it's terrible. It is the Bears/Reds type of C, which I'm fine with. I know the Cubs used to use that. I'm fine with that being. But inside is a hippopotamus. Yeah, I can't unsee it.
It really is a hippo.
Somebody just sawed the horns off of a moose and stuck it on a football
You called it
logo.
the moose. I see that too. Yeah, I'm with you. It's the moose hippo. Not a fan. 1916. I mean, once again, the war years. They couldn't afford good logo people. They're all in trenches.
We have got to update this logo now.
Like, sorry.
Can't possibly wait until after the war.
Sorry, I got no hands. I can't. I mean, that's the thing. It's like you got guys with no hands drawing logos after the war. So then that my ugly is just like, this reminds me of the they had one of these recently that the Cubs had one of those, like a big long C, and then the ubs inside. So it just looked like ubs, and you're not even like clocking the C. First of all, this is gold and blue for some reason. Like the one year we were gold in 1918, we did go to the World Series and lost it.
Yeah, I don't understand the color scheme, but I kind of like the square C.
Ugh.
But also because I'm really into cubes.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it looks like your Cubes fan logo.
Yeah.
It kind of does, but yeah, that one's just ugly because it just says UBS.
Yeah,
it doesn't say
it's
Cubs
the
to me.
UBS logo.
So that's my ugly.
Okay, so in the chat.
Yeah, what other people can they put pictures in the chat? Well, I don't think they can.
I don't think they can. Pinkus says the dancing bear, so IFG's good. The dancing bear looks like he's a flasher without a trench coat. True.
That's on brand for me. That's fine.
Well, now we got a pantsless Clark, so like, what's the difference?
And then we got a lot of Badgers in here.
Yeah.
And then this one, we really
Angry Badger don't give a shit.
We're having Honey Badger don't give a shit references in 2023.
DJR. I'm not sure who DJR is, but wanted to bust out and say and remind us of the Cuba Cubs.
Yeah,
I brought them up, didn't I?
Yeah, because the S looks like an A.
When we were talking about doing this bit, I was like, do word marks count? Because I'll bring up the Cuba jerseys. We'll have to do a good, bad, and the ugly on word marks next.
Yep, that was a good one. Man, there's a lot of this.
Yeah. Well, thanks for writing in, everybody. We could talk about this more on the Discord afterwards, I'm sure, because there's nothing that people feel more passionately about than like logos and jersey styles and flat brim versus curve versus, there's all these schools of thought on it. And, because I never even with memorabilia, I'm like, well, why isn't that worth anything? There's, well, because it wasn't inscribed properly, or it was inscribed and it shouldn't be, or, that's written in red pen and not blue pen, or whatever it is. Because, but I never understand any of that stuff. But I'm interested in it because I love things that matter that don't matter. It's like that always excites me.
CZ's World says I did my own custom Cubs logo for my 2016 tattoo. You know what, CZ's
I'd like to see that.
Go to reddit.com/r/sunranto and you can put a picture into it. Because I would love to see it as well.
So we do have a few announcements. We'll end that conversation there. But I already said the birthdays from Anthony Hutflis and Bernie Barron. Their birthdays today. Mike Waller was on Monday and also on this show tonight. He did an awesome job. Emma, Tori, and Steve, happy birthday. But I do have some sad news. A longtime listener to the show. He actually has Cubes fan tattooed on his leg. Chris Salato. He lost his grandpa just a couple days ago, I think. And so I just want to bring this up. So he wrote this on the Discord channel. I asked him if I could share it. And he said yes. So he said, as a couple of you already know, I lost my grandpa this week at the age of 95. He is the reason I am here. I'm a ranter because of him. The TV was always on WGN when I was a kid, and the Cubs were never missed. I loved watching games with him. However, I was always curious about one thing I never understood until I was much older. He always, and by always, I mean every game, has the game on TV and listen to it on the radio. Took me a long time to get it, but he was my OG Cubs fan, dual watching, listening. And my only regret is never making it to Wrigley to watch a game with him. And his name, Raymond Martins. So, and it says right in his obituary, right there, he enjoyed gardening and he was a Chicago Cubs and Iowa Hawkeye fan. So, R.I.P. Raymond, and hope your family does okay, Chris.
Cheers,
and
Raymond.
you know,
Rest you merry, sir.
so cheers. So pour one out, and but a little bad news, good news. My cousin walked with a cane. So she had a stroke.
That's awesome.
And I've said this on the show before. She walked with a cane. We've been texting, so on the mend. So that's really good. Long road, but things are happening. So very good stuff. Last thing is the Bleacher Bum Band. We've been having a few meetings, figure out what we're going to do this year. Opening day, we're definitely going to try to play. We don't know. It'll either be at Output or Nisei. We're trying to figure that out. But we're going to do a CD release party on an album we're working on right now on June 17th. And that'll probably be at Nisei Lounge as well. So save that date. It's against the Orioles. It's a Saturday. It's a 1:20 start. We'll play afterwards. It'll be a lot of fun. And the weather should be good and a good reason to come out and play. Also, I released this on the Patreon and I put it as public. So if you go to patreon.com/Ranto, anybody can listen to it. You don't have to be a Patreon member, but I was on the Mistaken Identity podcast with Frank Walker, who has a podcast that's all about, it's run by the people that work at the staff at Wrigley Field. So they've got a podcast about their experience. Like I said, Mike Waller has his show about stats, and now there's another Cubs podcast for the Cubs staff. So I think that's really, you can intersect with Cubs in so many different cool ways. So hashtag Chance in the chat if you want to win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me. I just sent one today, in fact, but I had a message of love and doom in it. And if you hashtag Chance in the chat right now, you could win that message sent to you by me. So do we have any TFCs?
Yes, I've got 2 of them. Anybody else?
I thought I did. I'm not seeing it right now though. Like, did it get buried? Here, let me. I'll find mine because I do have one.
Okay.
I have funny Amazon listings with our logos on them.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
but I don't have any cubes.
Throw those out there.
Oh no, I do.
Well, my first one here is, the age-old argument about people bitching. Should you give the ball to a kid if you catch it? And people complaining about that. And this fucking cube says, yeah, fuck that stupid tradition. It was cool and all when I was a kid, but I'm done with it now.
Is that Zach Hampel? Who wrote that?
I just think it's so funny. He's like, yeah, when I was a kid and somebody gave me a ball, I thought it was awesome. But now I'm not giving it to any kids.
As long as I'm the one that gets the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
No problem.
That's a fucking cube.
So let's see some ugly gear. I want to see some. Yeah.
So we have some good gear.
Oh yeah, I dropped the link for that in the chat. That's Michael Cotton's semi-angry bear. Good, and that's a cool flag. I like that flag. I'm not a flag guy.
My flag. It's hanging over my window.
Not a flag guy.
I got a flag. I got a W flag. Somebody gave it to me.
I have a W and an L flag.
I have a W towel. My tie guy gave me those when I came to Chicago. It was really nice of him. That's not the 2016 team one though. That's the one that has like Ernie Banks and 1908 and all that stuff on it. Anyway, we have a bad logo.
Yeah, I want to see this one. Oh yeah, that's the it kind of looks now it's kind of giving me like water buffalo.
Yeah, it is odd.
It's really weird.
It looks like maybe a couple different animals mixed together.
And that was that they did the century of Cubs at Wrigley Field, 1916 to 2016. So, yeah, that's a rough one. So you got another one?
Yeah, and I told you the one that I had for my ugly, I've only ever seen on baseball cards, and it turns out here's John. God,
Gorel?
Gorel. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Goryl. Gorel.
One of the many forgotten Cubs third baseman.
Indeed so. And it's got our ugly little mounted baby bear head. That is just such a tragic logo. Even if that is what it is, that's a bad logo.
It is.
Somebody went out there, killed a little cub. Ugh, mounted its
Look
head.
how proud I am.
All right, Danny, you got one here?
Yeah, this is all I got. So so I used one of those with a chat, what's it called? Chat GPS or TPS, what do they call it?
GPT.
GPT, yeah, Chat GPT. And I went in there and I was asking a bunch of questions, and it doesn't tell you shit really. But I said, well, what is the Sun Ranto show? And I wanted to know what it knew about our show. And it said, the Sun Ranto show is a sports radio show. Okay, so far so good. Hosted by Tony Rizzo. What? Anthony Rizzo hosts the show? I'm Anthony Rizzo. Also known, Tony Rizzo, also known as Sonny Ranto.
That is awesome.
Then it goes on to say the show focuses on the Chicago Cubs in Major League Baseball. Also wrong. The format of the show is the format of the show is typically a mix of analysis. Wrong. Commentary. Okay, I'll give you that. Interviews, sure, sometimes, and listener interaction. Yes. But for analysis, yeah, right. So in other words, you get back to the drawing board. GPT, you don't know what you're doing.
They're trying. Poor
Garbage.
GPT, chatbot 2000. All right, I got another TFC here, and this is a TFC just because this is a true ranter.
Go no.
He says, long. I haven't paid attention to reading about baseball for decades. And now that I'm on Reddit, the whole make up a stat to prove an argument and based on X war fairy dust squared, we're the best projected team to have no real world factors contribute to my imaginary plans for this season. Also, they're all on drugs. Stop pretending they aren't. It's a high dollar competitive sport. These guys have been cheating to get ahead since they were teenagers. Hell, even the baseballs cheat. There is no heaven. Mickey Mouse isn't real. Stop pretending baseball isn't for profit entertainment because your worldview is that fragile.
Wait,
it's just spectacular.
Yeah, I love it. You got to get that guy on the show. I mean, he's got to come on. X War Fairy
Dust Squared.
X War Fairy Dust Squared. The new stat. Oh man,
I just love when he just totally goes off the rails and he's like, "There's no heaven. Mickey Mouse is not real." Like,
Watch Angle is a myth.
And you're adopted. Carrie Bronnermeyer chimes in, butt rub this, and I couldn't agree more. Clint says greatest TFC of all time. It might be. It really might be. I thought sometime like towards the end of the year we should just like at Halloween we should do an all TFC show, just like gather all your TFCs and just like go through them. Do like a top 10, create it, like get a winner.
I've been telling people if they find TFCs, put it out there on the Reddit page. And Dominic Galoro said that he has posted pictures of his tattoos out on the Reddit page. So if you want to see what Dominic's tattoos look like, go out there.
NSFW. So
what's the Reddit page? Like read it out.
It's on it's
reddit.com/r/sunranto.
So once again, this show was brought to you by our 108 Patreon supporters who we're going to be hanging out with in a little post-show chat over on our Discord for about an hour, having a drink or two over there with everybody in a little post-show after party, if you will. Come hang out with us. Join our Patreon. It's only $1. Patreon.com/sunranto, and you get Discord permissions, I guess that's what you call that. So hashtag chance in the chat. It is your last chance to win the chance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and we are going to give away a chance postcard. You are also entered to win the end of the year chance prize by just winning this. This is how you get entered, by winning tonight. I didn't mention that I do have a new prize that I'm adding to because it's February. So the new month, first month was the Greg Maddox. Oh no, I lost it. It's a Harry Carey patch. I can't find it right now, but I have a Greg Maddox and now a Harry Carey iron-on patch is part of the prize. So here we go. Let's give the chance a spin here, and let's see who's going to win tonight. Big money, no whammies, no whammies. Bang. Clint Nathan is the winner. Congratulations, Clint, on his hopefully third bottle of wine by around now. Come on and join us in the Discord,
please,
because we want to hear how drunk you are. So, well, thanks for watching. Congratulations, Clint. Congratulations to all of us for being here tonight and sharing the evening with us. I had a good time, and we're going to continue it over on the other side. So, anybody else have anything to say about that?
Well, I just want to apologize to everybody. We're not going to make the 2-hour mark. It's a short show. Sorry, you're not getting what you're paying for. It's short.
We've been trying to make the show shorter, and mission accomplished. So,
the brood abides.
So, what'd you say?
The brood abides.
The brood abides.
The brood abides.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get myself a little brood abides, and I guess on that note, I will introduce the next song as an oldie but a goodie, and it's the Ballad of Billy Cub, and this is a song
perfect for the logo show.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and it's like because you know, if you don't know who Billy Cub was, he was the unofficial Cubs mascot before they created Clark, and he was very, very disappointed that he did not get picked to be the actual mascot. And so I wrote a little bit of a song called The Ballad of Billy Cub about when Billy Cub found out that the Cubs had a new mascot. It wasn't him. It was Clark. So that's the name of this song. It's got a little music video to go. I forgot about it. So here it is. So on that note, see you on Discord, all you Patreon peeps, and Spagog.
Spagog!
Missing watching baseball with a bottle of booze. I got the off-season blues. Big blubbery belly getting harder to lose. I got the off-season blues. Should've gone to Rio on a carnival cruise. I got the off-season blues. Shovel in my sneakers and I ruined my shoes. I got the off-season blues. Nothing but depression coming out of the news. I got the off-season blues. Dreaming about the Cubbies in an afternoon snooze. I got the off-season blues. Someday it will be spring again, and the national anthem will be sung. Oh yeah, when baseball season finally comes, and the horribly cold and gray Chicago soul-crushing winter will be over. I'll be sitting in the terrace with an obstructed view. I got the off-season blues. Riding on the umpire with a full-throated boo. I got the off-season blues. That wasn't a ball, moron. That was strike two. I got the off-season blues. cold and gray Chicago, soul crushing, miserable winter wind.